This is as simple as making sure your PDPs, your product detail pages are wow. So they're actually optimized for loading, they're optimized for various mobile speeds. There's less words on them. They're very, very visual. Words are replaced with icons. Icons are easier to understand. And as far as possible, it is what I called owned IP, which means that these are not necessarily renders. These are not using stock elements, of Asian people or European people, which look very out of place on Indian product detail pages. So as far as possible, solving your imagery, the kind of things that this does for your conversion rates, that is one very tactical thing, but it also helps people believe that this is a brand. This is not a catalog that I'm shopping from. And it's a very different relationship that you build when you do that. So even when we started Koparo, we actually did invest 20,000 rupees in, getting a family of four. And these were obviously not a family, it was a model. They were models, but they were like two kids, and they were, parents, where we actually went all out and did, product shots with these people. Because what you will get by doing that is very, very different from looking at very stock elements. And it doesn't cost more than that, but um, I would deeply encourage you to spend some time on your product detail pages. They're big tools of conversion, and they're also the first time you start telling your story. The second thing I feel is landing pages. We are all mostly slaves to Shopify, right? I think mostly everybody on this cohort would be hosting their websites on Shopify or Max to Max like a Magento. And the reality is that those shopping pages are optimized for Shopify. They're not optimized for you or your product or its storytelling. Today, you have enough sort of um, I should say, tutorials out there, which will tell you what goes into the making of a good landing page. Good landing pages typically are helping the consumer make the purchase. They are either using customer testimonials or a very quick validation of the kind of payment, channels you have, and therefore making somebody feel secure that this is a kosher website. Because remember, there is a lot of you people are landing on your page, they may not necessarily know whether you're a legit company or not, and there is enough that happens which shakes people's confidence. So again, landing pages, here the best thing to do is reference the best landing pages which would work for your product. This is something that we would do and we constantly do. So even today we are going to be doing a landing page improvement pilot with Beyond Ads. So you can that's one company I have felt that really gets its landing pages correct. They work with very limited clients. This is Chandrabanu and his partner. Chandrabanu looks after the ad side. There's another person who looks after sort of the CRO aspects. So the you know study it, right? Study the landing pages of a good bug, study the landing pages of some of the larger companies in your category or a adjacent category. You will start seeing what is missing in yours, and either put a developer to it. If you are the developer, then you of course go ahead and do it, but or actually get proper professional help. There are people who actually work on this, and this is pure gold. This is the stuff which can improve your ROAS from by point 2, point 3 in the same month with doing absolutely nothing else. So this is pure gold. So spend time on that. Then if any of you are not on a faster checkout, then please get there. And that's the third thing that I would say in terms of unpaid elements that help, right? So we are on Shopflow. Back in the day, there was only Go Quick, which used to offer, a superior checkout experience. But the Shopify checkout experience is very dated. And if you do want to improve your conversions again, get on a better checkout. Um, and then work on your curation. Your homepage should look different every 10 days, 12 days. There should be a freshness to it. Highlight combos. Combos is again something which I was seeing most of your product catalogs from the Accelerate cohort, and they are large, right? So combos is a great tool to drive AOVs and to do revenue maximization. And particularly on certain days of the month, like a Saturday or a Sunday, or like today's Mother's Day, combos can genuinely give a lot of revenue velocity. For us, combos is about a 29% contribution to our website revenues, and we sell cleaning products, so we can't, I mean, there is a limit to how creative we can be on our combos. So for those of you who are in more involved categories, combos is very, very useful. And focus on your reviews. There is definitely, um, you definitely, your page ranking, your relevance does improve with more and more customer reviews. So get the correct reviews plugin. And we are very happy to share ki what plugin are we using, and also at the end when we take questions, we are very happy to share all of that with you guys. But work on these, just as you would work on the reviews in any other marketplace. Of course, if you are working on Amazon, I mean, reviews, goes without saying, is perhaps the most important thing, you know. So jaise bhi karke, you do need to increase the reviews, and you have to put a certain review velocity target. Because if your product, what I have understood is, if you are selling 100 units in a particular month, then it is likely that you could get 2 to 4 reviews. If you get 8 to 10 reviews one month, it will go unnoticed. The second month, they could that account could get flagged. So manage your review velocity as well. Uh,
Even if it is organic.
it Yes, because by organic you simply mean that it is, somebody who's actually bought the product, right?
Yeah.
Yes, because people also see reviews, right? So that can get seen as a bit of a red flag.
Okay.
So manage your review velocity. Like I said, in the early months, you won't get flagged. But it is whenever the audit happens, if it looks like this is unusual review activity, then it can be problematic. So you must have review targets for a month. So for example, let's say I am looking at hand wash as a big bet, and let's say I want to make sure that I have 1,000 reviews on it, and I'm at 800. Pace yourself. If you're going to try and get 200 reviews done in that month, it will backfire on you eventually.
We made this mistake in Zoe. Like we did an influencer campaign, sent a
Yeah.
lot of products to influencers, asked them to review, and next month up, like we got like 1,000 reviews, very high velocity, and next month our like account got banned for views.
Yes, and it's apparently for Amazon, no?
Yeah,
It's the toughest band to get out of.
yeah.
This is what I've heard. Um, you know, this is the toughest band to get out of. It's okay to kind of be slow on this journey. It's very good. You have to do reviews, but some of those campaigns can backfire. So pace it. And then your basic listing hygienes, and here we focused a little bit on your website. So we said, your GMB and your GMC are gold. Kshitij, do you want to just talk a little bit about GMB GMC fields?
These are newer terms that like.
Yes, that's why I'm just asking him. Yeah. Kshitij, are you on mute?
I think Shita just left, maybe some internet issue.
Okay, okay, never mind. I'll just tell you, it's Google Merchant Center and Google Merchant for Business. I think that's what GMB is. But basically, this is stuff which it will, at the very least, it is your address, it is your phone number, it is the ability for customers to review you. If people are reviewing you, you must reply, right? You must have images and videos loaded over there, because all of this is helping you build certain ranking, and it's a long term process. So for example, in certain shopping ads you may have seen, right, you can see there's a COD enabled, or you can see free delivery, or you can see certain meta fields which are not filled for certain other shopping ads, right? So the more information you can give, the better it is. Things like a phone number, things are very, very important, for this. So don't disregard your GMB GMC setup. Also the thumbnail images that you're putting out there, or the logos that you're putting out there. If they're asking for your logo in 8 aspect ratios, please give it in 8 aspect ratios, because there will be one point where your logo will fire, and if we are Koparo, the O and the P will be visible and everything else will get cut off if you haven't loaded the correct, so pay some attention to your GMB GMC um, dashboards as well, and your reviews. So people do actually go back, and unfortunately this is the rule, where happy customers will not post reviews, the unhappy ones will post reams and reams of reviews. You can't help that, that's human behavior, but what you can help is being responsive to those reviews, particularly as people discover you on Google, which is what your ultimate aim is, right? You want people to search you outside of your marketplaces as well. And now, sort of coming into the paid aspects, you know, you do have to pay money to scale up, and but do not spend anything, or do not spend at least materially, till your attribution is rock solid. So none of the panels, whether it is Google or it is Meta or it is any panel, right? Or, I mean, other than Amazon, actually, where the attribution will be completely linked to your sale. Everywhere else, your attribution on the panel will be incorrect. You do have to clean up post that. But even to be able to clean up, you need to make sure that you have spent enough time on, and there are different tools for Google and there are different tools for Meta. But it does mean you should have invested enough time on this. And the rules of attribution also change. So you will have to refresh your attribution tags uh, as you go along, you know.
Sorry, what do you mean by refreshing the attribution tags?
Is Shitij back now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Here, yes.
Shitij, can you talk a little bit about how last year we had to put in a different effort for Google, around attribution?
Yeah, so every time there is, any change that you are doing on your Shopify theme, you need to make sure that the tags are firing correctly. There's a extension, a Google extension called Tag Assistant Support, which every now and then you should check upon, because there are events when whatever script you have uploaded on your theme, there are events which do not pass to Google. Although, let's say your important metrics like a conversion value or a conversion is being passed to Google, some other important aspects like customer ID, the device that the customer is logging in from, etc., are not passed, and that sort of hampers the learning of a campaign, and therefore you will see diminishing returns after some point. So it's important to keep on checking your
And is
uh,
there a tool like this for Meta also? What do you do for Meta, Shitij?
yeah, there's a Meta Pixel tracker. Um, I can add the links of these two extensions in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, in fact, it would be wonderful, like maybe if it's okay, like you guys can like share your tech stack, right? I've heard Shopflow, I've heard Beyond Ads, like as an agency, obviously GMB, like whatever you guys are using, like would just be wonderful to
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, we'll do that. We'll kind of make a list and pass it on. Definitely. So continuing on this, right, as we're getting into the sort of paid elements, my conversation today will be a little bit more meta focused, because I think in the early stages, meta fires faster, and it is more intuitive to understand and scale up. And Google begins to work for you later. But this was my experience at Koparo. It could be different. So we have covered both, but like I said, my experiences today will be a little bit more meta heavy. So the first thing I'll say is that you're going to understand your consumer, who are your personas, a Perfora's persona is very different from a Coparo's persona. Whenever I speak to Perfora, I understand that they have a very young target audience, at least 10 years younger than mine. My core TG is a 35 to 37-year-old woman. That's my absolute bullseye core. So I have people who are 25 to 35. I have some folks who are 35 to 45. And then I actually do have a cohort which is older as well. But deep dive into who are the users. And you can do this by talking to people. You can do it ultimately by studying a little bit of GA and interspersing that on top. But ultimately, you will have to talk to people with some hypotheses and begin to frame your user personas. I'll share with you what I feel is my Koparo persona, and we also think it evolves. So one is basically these parent guardians. They could have pets, they could have kids. They're typically 35, 37, 38, 35 to 40. They're basically very interested in reducing the toxic footprint in their overall life. They like to buy now and then organic food. They like to apply some clean label personal care cosmetics, and therefore Koparo appeals to them because they're already triggered with all of this information. The second persona that is there for Koparo is basically these are the eco folks. These are basically triggered by things like understanding what's the biodegradable elements of your formulas. What do you do with all this plastic? Can't you ship it to us without plastic? Can I reuse the floor cleaner runoff? Can I use it to water my plants? Therefore, so these are very, very ingredient aware folks, and therefore the kind of communication that we do with them is different. They tend to be a little bit younger, so they tend to be in the 25 to 30 sort of age bracket. And then we have slightly older people who basically have made it in life. या तो घर है या घर खरीदने की क्षमता है, अच्छी गाड़ी चलाते हैं, हॉलीडेज ले रहे हैं, दे आर लिविंग वेल. And because they're living well, they've upgraded everything in their life, and therefore they want to use new brands which are aspirational. And here the fact that we kind of take the quality route, saying our product is better because it is better for your marble floor, or it is better because our fragrances are more exotic, or it is better because it's solving a very premium need. So let's say we have a hard water stain remover, which obviously only bothers you when you have very expensive bathroom fittings. So there is this third set, right? The reason I kind of shared this with you is that the kind of creatives that you make have to they have to star your user personas. That is pure gold. When they do, they will perform better, they will get out of learning faster, and you will be able to put more scale up money on them. So the first thing that I have learned here is that the creative has to solve the targeting. You know, you may have a lot of targeting available to you, as you know that it is harder and harder to target now. But your creative has to do the targeting. So if my consumer uh, is somebody who is 38 to 40, then I have to star that person in my ad. The reason I've put this out there, this is our top performing meta creative of this week. You know, it looks very different from
Simran, does sorry, just wanted to know, does Honest Home have conflicting categories with you?
Honest Home. This is yeah, I mean one or two products. So I think they have a sponge wipe, which we also have, and I think they have a powder to liquid dishwash liquid. You know,
Got it.
So, but I think otherwise, I think you're talking about Mayank, right? Mayank
Yeah,
Sisodia, right? Yeah, so he'd also come on Shark Tank, so I remember this a little bit. I think there is less overlap. है
got it.
but कम है. हाँ, and I think उनका angle एकदम अलग है.
Got it. He's ex Kapiva. I actually know him. We've not invested, but I generally
Got it.
wanted to check it out.
Yes. So know your personas. You will have different ones, and use those personas to create your creatives, because that is actually what will do your targeting. You can't copy somebody else's nice looking creative. You don't know what their customer profile is like.
I think this is a very it's a pure gold insight, because as I said, as you also said, the UGC ads look very different, right? But if you actually star your customer in your creative, almost
Yes.
it just really appeals to them. Can
Yes.
you also talk about the process of identifying, how did you guys identify your star TG and your co TG?
So, we actually spoke. That is the easiest way to do it. You start identifying the repeat people, right? They are your loyalists, they're your first earliest adopters. You pick up the phone, you tell them that I'm the founder and like to speak to you. Very rare that people will say no. People
Yeah,
will probably say कि आज time नहीं है, कल phone करना, but people will not outright put the phone down or say no.
yeah.
You know, so
Or
go
they'll be
for the.
excited that founder of their favorite brand is kind of calling.
Yeah, and I think, people want to share, yeah. People want to tell you, and you have to also keep it conversational. If it sounds like a market research, people will say no.
Hmm.
You keep it conversational. कि आपने कैसे discover किया? अच्छा, अच्छा, what shows do you watch? In that, they will tell you, what their family structure is like. They'll share with you more, you know. So they're very non-threatening ways to do these calls. But just keep it conversational, no? Just the way you would go make a new friend, right? Saying that we have common interests, right? We have our brand in common. I want to know more. Yeah, you will get to know people.
The
And
mom.
these are not more than 30 to 40 conversations. You will get to know a lot.
Yeah.
Um, the second thing I would like to talk about is the hygiene of ads. You know, um, there are good ads, there are great ads, and there are terrible ads, right? So all ads are genuinely not equal. I think the first thing when you are particularly looking at a video format, which I think most of us will be looking at, right? And Meta is where the early scale up journey happens, right? You have to solve for creative tension. Now, you don't have to be an award winning film director to understand creative tension. Creative tension is very simple. कि 20 सेकंड का आपने ad बनाया, why should I watch beyond the first 3-4 seconds? Because that's the biggest drop off points, right? The first 2-3 seconds, that's when the drop off happens. Why should you watch it? You would have seen people do all kinds of ads, right? I think last week we did one ad which some of you guys would have got that meme, right, where this guy is being chucked off a mountain, and someone is he says ki nahi 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 mujhe mat pheko types, and the idea is like he says ki, there's a all I wanted to say was that the Koparo sale is live. Now, very cliched, very cringe example, but I'm saying that you've got to figure out your own creative tension in your ads. So why should anybody watch your ad? If you're a personal care brand, it could be about you don't show the face and you just applying cream, you know, on on a body part, right? And then you're moving to the next body part, but you haven't shown the face. And um, that's the most human curiosity element that you're stoking and you're sort of, double clicking into because you want to see ye kiska chehra tha, you know. So you will figure out for you what is it that you want to build that tension around, right? But you have to build some creative tension, um, and the answer will be different. Like I saw there's oral care, there's sort of apparel, so the answers will be different. But firstly, become big consumers of content. It will give you a lot of ideas. So consume voracious amount of content. Scour the ad libraries. They're totally public, right? On Facebook, you can totally see everybody's ad library of people all around the world. You will get some great ideas, even if you're not naturally creative, and eventually you will come up with your own templates and creatives. But think about creative tension. If every script of yours reads like "get ready with me," it's no surprise it's not going to work. So you have to think a little bit differently. The length should be under 30, but 20 would be great. And when you make vertical creatives, please make sure that the top 10 to 15% and the bottom 10 to 15%, there is no text over there, there's no USP over there, it gets cut in many placements. So the basics is, you spent the money, now you've done the effort, and now if your stuff is getting cut, that's a complete waste, right? So, do follow that rule as well. And then again, where are you landing it? The commonality that you can have between the language, the coupons, the look and feel of your ads and the landing pages, it improves conversions. uh, you will also have to very acutely look at the life cycle of creatives. There's no one answer. There is sometimes a creative which works for 60 full days, 70 full days, budgets blasting. There are also creatives which fatigue in 2 weeks. But the best thing you can do is have a creative pipeline. um, you do need it. You absolutely need a creative pipeline. You don't know at what point what will give you fatigue, and if it does, it will all tank. And if you are depending on Meta for a certain chunk of revenues, you'll suddenly have a hole in your monthly planning. So pipeline of creatives is very, very important, and putting aside an experimentation budget. This is not um, a large sum of money. So I think often we get confused and we think यार budget अभी तो है ही नहीं, मतलब अब experiment के लिए मैं अलग कहाँ से निकालूं, right? The reality is that in your campaigns, let's say you're running 8 to 10 campaigns, there will be 3 which are absolute shit, absolute duds on your ROAS, right? Just cut that money, put that in experimental budget, and always keep it alive. The experimental budget. The experiments can be as simple as saying, I took a younger face, I took a boy instead of a girl, I did a voiceover, I didn't do a voiceover, I did a dance. whatever your experiments are, right? But have an experimentation budget. They could also be technical. You could say, I targeted men versus women. I, ran a 20 seconder versus a 40 seconder. Um, but please figure that out. You know, have it, because your answers will be your answers. They will not necessarily. You can't necessarily just copy somebody else's playbook. Um, and the next thing I want to kind of say is that Meta is not paying me for this session. Yeah, just kidding. Meta can build reach, you know. So run some full funnel ads as well. It's actually a very cheap platform to build reach. So think about what could get you traffic, uh, you know, and how to structure those. Now you may want to, do this a little bit later when you have some understanding of your audiences. There will be a different set of creatives which will get you consideration, and a very different one which will be a sales driven one or a conversion one, right? And you should have a full funnel approach. Initially, you will have very less money for the full funnel approach, but the moment you have some budget, start taking this full funnel approach. Otherwise, you will only be solving for May, and you would have done nothing to help your July. And if you've done nothing to help your July, suddenly July will look very difficult. So you will have to have a quarter, like a quarter's perspective when you are looking at things, and have a full funnel perspective. It's very important. People who become aware of your brand in May, um, may land on your page. Then you will have a different kind of consideration set of creatives for them, and the ultimate conversion, could happen in July. But if you aren't making those efforts in May, July will have a hole, right? So have a quarterly view for this. There is going to be aspects of your spends which are not going to be conversion focused, but at a quarterly level, it will hold you in better stead. And that is something you will only know after you've tried for a quarter, you know. And you must close the loop with remarketing. Kshitij, you want to add anything here? Something that I'm missing to tell?
Uh,
Maybe you can also share a little bit about like how your funnel looks like.
Yeah, Kshitij?
So in our funnel, what we have followed throughout these years is that we are a bit heavy on the bottom funnel, which is sale conversion ads. But we have always observed that whenever you turn on an awareness campaign or a consideration campaign, your bottom funnel sale conversion campaigns also start performing even better. So if let's say you are getting a ROAS of 2 on your sale conversion campaigns, there's a very high likelihood of it going to, let's say, a 2.4 or 2.5 if it is supported by the awareness and consideration campaign. One catch over there would be you need to make sure that you are sort of targeting the same audience set. So what it ends up doing is that it increases the frequency or touch point with a particular user. And because there's a different kind of creative in each of these ad sets or campaigns, like Simran mentioned, that consideration campaigns or a sale conversion campaign, there needs to be a difference in creative. So a proper brand journey or a brand story is something that is conveyed to the customer, and therefore conversion or the purchase decision becomes easier. So it's important to like approach the funnel in a dynamic way.
Yeah, and maybe just to add from an internal meta perspective, right? So essentially, let's say if there are about 1 lakh people in your target audience, right? So so it's not that if you run only bottom of the funnel ads, you will reach all 1 lakh people, right? Essentially, conversion ads only go to those folks who are interested in your category plus know about your brand, right? But consideration ads and awareness ads, top of the funnel ads, go to those people who are interested in the category but don't know about the brand. So like if you want to kind of touch the entire 1 lakh, you have to do full funnel. And maybe as top of the funnel ads are cheaper in terms of video views, and also like as it said, like lesser percentage, 15-20% on top, and like bottom heavy, like 70 to 80% kind of gives you like a full funnel reach to your entire audience set.
Yeah. And actually, great to build frequency. To build the same kind of frequency on YouTube does cost more.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a good metric to track this would be the incremental you're seeing in your performance, sale conversion led ads. So, whatever you're spending on your awareness and consideration, uh, a percentage of it will be returned to you in the ROAS that you are seeing an uplift in.
So like your blended ROAS would be like eventually
Should
similar
trend up.
or higher.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
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 Your
Um,
favorite cleaning brand, Koparo, is now just 10 minutes
one
away.
second. So the other thing I wanted to talk about here was that partnership collab ads, something we've started experimenting with, which I think all of you should as well. So if your partners are like the likes of a Blinkit or an Instamart or a Zepto, or I mean, in some of your cases, they will be, uh, you know, the Mintras, etc. of the world. I don't know what is their view on partnership collab ads, but this is beyond a deep link, and it is very very helpful because in some platforms you can uh, they have very sophisticated ad tech and you can do uh, proper advertising. In many platforms you don't have very very sophisticated ad tech and it becomes hard to scale up uh, you know over there, and therefore the only way you can scale up is if you are doing some off platform bets. So we've begun doing this. Many other brands are also doing this, and they are giving good results, I would say, because it also solves that problem, like how do you grow off platform, at a rate that you want to grow at, right? Because either you're tied into a market share game over there, right? Or you have to basically increase your searches. And increasing your searches is an organic component. You can't, there's no steroid for it. Unless you're doing a big ATL campaign. And I think our cohort is far away from that at the moment. So doing some partnership collab ads is very, very useful as well, because you basically want to capture the consumer revenue, right? I mean, frankly, whether it happens on your website or it happens on your app or it happens on somebody else's app is immaterial, as long as the economics can be made to work, of course.
Can you also do tracking with partnership collab ads?
Kshitij?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So, because this happens, you would obviously get a POC from the partner. Let's say if we are doing it with Blinkit, they sort of start sharing data from their panels.
Okay.
And in every relationship that you have with your partner, they will be sharing data of how many, landing page views increased or how many
Yeah.
conversions
So
increased.
you have to depend on them for the tracking, but they can share it. And I think I wanted to just emphasize this is beyond a deep link. So,
Mhm.
for example, this would be an ad which is then getting seen by the Blinkits NCR customers who have bought cleaning essential products from them.
Mhm.
So you see, it's not just like you put a deep link in your ad and you kind
You're
of just,
building a new audience altogether.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
and just adding to Simran's point, why this is beyond deep link is because let's say if in a particular pin code the product is out of stock on Blinkit,
Hmm.
the ads won't be firing in that pin code because they have that sort of a sync with Meta.
Hmm. Amazing.
So do explore these. I mean, we're seeing early good results, but if it's valid for your brands, then certainly do. Um, Google fires a bit later, but when it fires at far superior OS than Meta. It has begun firing for us now, in all honesty. There's a host of products, of course, over there, but largely it is broken up into sort of, three components. There's obviously shopping, there's search, and there's PMAX. And then you could use YouTube in addition to tell your story, and here I think always good to experiment with the latest ad types. Like at the moment it's demand gen, because what often happens is that globally teams are committed to making that ad type work, and therefore you will see some results. And often what happens is if the latest ad type works, then they may phase out some previous ad type, and at that point of time you do want to have a set of learnings already done. So last quarter, YouTube shorts was all the rage and people were trying to leverage YouTube shorts for ads, and the people who were getting it correct genuinely got like a big step up improvement on their ROI. And this quarter the whole rage is demand gen. So be willing to experiment with the newer formats. They're great ways of accelerated learning, and they're great ways of actually having step ups in your in your ROI. Again, shopping ads, search, PMAX. The thing is that the reason we haven't gone into detail into any of these is saying that, look, they're very different folks for different strokes over here, So it depends on whether your category is getting searched in Google and if there is adequate search volume. What are the searches? Are those searches relevant to show your products on, So, for example, um, there's an oral care brand here, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, like if SLS free toothpaste is actually a proper keyword on Google, then by all means, your shopping ads will fire well, your search ads will fire well. But if that is not really a very big keyword, then it's going to be harder for you to scale that, from a shopping ads perspective. When you have enough brand search, typically we have seen, and this is for my category, everyone is different. I have seen that a lot of the searches have begun happening on marketplaces itself. And there is less search, at least on Google. And therefore, only when Koparo became properly searched on Google was when Google started working for us. This is my understanding. Again, I know there are brands who have broken out, but so for us it was a bit of pinch of salt. Like it worked a bit later. Now that it's working very well, but it worked later in our journey. Anything you want me to more you want me to touch upon, Karan? I mean,
Maybe you can also talk a little bit about
Hmm.
your growth team structure, right? Like for example, like what's an ideal team at an early stage? Like what are the skill sets you should have in house? Like how much do you spend on content shooting and getting content from
Got it.
influencers?
No, those are great questions. So see, I have a very lean team. We are still a team of nine plus me, and so for me, it's very clear. The only lever somebody has in their hands is managing marketing and managing the landing pages. Um, and therefore, we have one person who looks at Shopify, which is basically our own website. She is responsible for making sure the curation is fresh. The sales are, thematic and they're, on point. There is freshness in the pricing as well, and she's also responsible for managing Google and Meta. So that is one person. And then we have another person like that for Amazon. And at the moment, she is also double hatting for the quick commerce marketplaces, but we are hiring somebody for the quick commerce marketplaces. So then we'll have a team of three people who are responsible for it end to end, Of course, they're supported by an ops team, because they're not expected to actually be, creating stock transfer notes and supplying POs, but they are responsible for the levers, whether they are paid or unpaid, to deliver revenue. Like I said, that's the only levers they control. So I feel it should be a team of just one for one channel, and then you can club channels if it's early stage for you guys. And that's what we've done so far, and I think that empowers people. So I'm a very big proponent that you should be lean and empowered, because there's also a lot of freelance talent you will dip into. So obviously, like if I look at these creators, like I didn't make these, right? Neither did the person who handles Google. So you will work with somebody, but there is such a huge freelance community out there, right? Which instantly gets that. अच्छा आपको PMax चाहिए, आपको मैं 4 size में देता हूँ, वो तो ठीक है, मुझे आप assets दे दो, I'll give you 3 templates, and let's try. So it's such a well-oiled community that I feel you should not have too many people on payroll, and you should be able to do a lot of this off. It requires some relationship building, but we are now all products of this economy. This is a collaborative, digital, remote economy, and it works brilliantly for D2C. So be lean is what I would say. Um, in terms of how much money you should spend, a lot of your ads should get shot in-house, and then you should be working with what are called nano influencers. These people, if you do bulk deals with them, you could do it as cheap as 2 to 3K per creative. Um, and when I say bulk deals, you basically tell them that, it's in this quarter, I'll shoot like 10 videos, 12 videos with you, but I can't commit to you ki every week how many I'm shooting, because I can't. So once they have that confidence with you, they will work with you. um, but also leverage the team people. I think it goes without saying, and I mean, I just say it openly in my hiring and everything, that you will feature in Koparo ads, you will create Koparo ads, you have to be. I think there is a certain, just the way we used to earlier check for basic Excel skills and things like that, right? I think it's as vital to see that, are you digitally literate? In my opinion, if you don't know how to do basics of video editing and Canva, you don't belong in a D2C team. Everybody should know that much, you know. So use the team, but you should have very less budget. I think the rule is 1:8, and I think it's a brilliant rule. I think it's a Unilever thing, that if you're spending 20,000 in a month, let's say, creating all your assets, right? You should be spending 8x of that in amplifying those assets. Otherwise, the point ही नहीं है ना. Don't work with expensive influencers. It's a complete waste of money. I'll continue here. This deck is with you, so you can read about YouTube ad sequencing, but this is just something that we had shared, saying that if you feel the brand is at a level where you want to start telling your story more deeply, then you can actually, do a cheap shoot. This whole shoot, we did what, 3+1 creative was 20K for the day. This videographer spent a day with us in our house, so we shot like one ad, which was like the founder story, the brand story, and then we shot 4 sub ads. And again, we are very tight. We try and not really shoot with models and things like that. But I think nano influencers will just do the job very well. Sorry, someone was saying something. Okay.
Yeah.
Not okay. And then, and just to wrap up, marketplaces, and the next slide, actually this one. Marketplaces are actually, some marketplaces are more sophisticated than others. Like Blinkit is fairly sophisticated, I would say, in terms of ad tech. Then Amazon is obviously very, very sophisticated in terms of ad tech. Don't get too carried away. Scale a marketplace when you're ready to understand that which are the market. Please firstly understand your economics by marketplace. So understand what is your CM2 in a Blinkit. Understand what is your CM2 on your website. Understand what is your CM2 on Amazon. And don't sort of sorry, one sec, my daughter's come in. Yeah, so now she's out. Yeah, so understand that what is your CM2 and be honest about it. Don't say कि अरे वो brand था तो मैं उसको minus कर रही हूँ, मैंने वो discount इसलिए दिया था क्योंकि वो May 8 deal था. No, just the real actual economics of that marketplace. If it is negative, then you can certainly not double click on it. Don't believe that it will be positive next month. That will not happen. But the marketplaces where you are seeing certain ROI, and that ROI can be 1%, it can be 2%, it can be 3%. That's totally fine. But you're seeing the CM2 positivity, invest, take a few big bets, but you'll have to have a very sharp understanding on which are those marketplaces and what are my hero products and which are the campaigns that are delivering. Scale those, and then really scale those. There is very little point in, let's say you're spending 15,000 rupees across 15 campaigns. That's super inefficient. Figure out the 2-3 that are working for you. Spend 5K each on those and scale it onwards. That's the better way to do it. Till you don't take big bets, you will not actually get rewards. And even from an investor standpoint, right? I think one of the biggest things that they want to know is that, what's your hero product? And the reason they ask you the hero product is very simple. They want to know that, are you being driven by just increasing your SKUs, right? Or actually, are you getting some customer sweet spot? Because that is what your hero product is telling you, that tomorrow, if Koparo had to be super efficient, right? And you shut down all the non-performing SKUs, they know that if her dishwash continues and her liquid detergent continues, the reality is she can still scale. because she's found her hero products. And that's the comfort that they basically want for you, that when it comes to prioritization, when it comes to rapid scale up, what are the two products that you can bet on that saying that this will become a 500 crore company, and this will become a 1,000 crore company? That's kind of what they want to kind of judge. So you should know your hero products, and they will not come to you before you spend a year in business. But in a year in business, you will know your hero products.
Interesting. So you're saying that it's better to kind of go deep in like a couple of products in a category rather than kind of going broad and horizontal, like across
So,
multiple products.
okay, so what I'm saying is you don't know what to go deep in, and therefore you will go horizontal,
Hmm.
and that's totally fine, right? Because today we don't have product-led brands, we have category-led brands, right? Look at some of the most successful brands like your Mama Earths, your Sugars, right? They play in every aspect of makeup, right? They're not like saying, okay, we're doing only this or we're doing only that. But within that, there will be two SKUs or three SKUs, which will be giving them 55-60% of their revenue.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that is the campaign you can scale up.
Hmm.
Because वहां पे consumer ने बोला है, hand up, I want sugar, or hand up, I want to wash my dishes with Koparo dishwash,
Hmm.
right? Much easier to scale that
Hmm.
than to scale 15 SKUs.
Got it. Got it.
And then you play your game, no? You say, अच्छा dish, आपने dish खरीदा, मेरा hand लीजिए, आप
Getting
मेरा sponge wipe लीजिए, आप ये combo लीजिए. But customer acquisition will always happen on 2 or 3 propositions. The last thing, I mean, we had here was, you will have to track very obsessively. This is a sheet that we have here, where, you obviously see what are you spending across channels, what are you earning across channels. You will also have to have early trackers around, is your organic revenue dropping somewhere? Because that could point towards a different problem. Maybe it is like a delivery problem. You don't know that, but you'll only know that if you're tracking it. So your tracking should be daily, but your planning should be quarterly, and it should be daily at a channel level. So for example, if you decide to spend money and let's say use you want to do two sort of WhatsApp blasts, right? When are you planning them? Why are you planning them on the days that you're planning them? Do they have better open rates then? What is the kind of offer that works on WhatsApp? So behind all this goes planning then, right? Are you planning to send Mother's Day SMS, right? What is your strategy? Why will people open your SMS versus somebody else's SMS? Are you landing it 2 days before Mother's Day? Are you actually doing it after Mother's Day? What is the objective over there? So the objectives and the revenue targets per channel, what you want to spend per channel, should be clarified to the teams. And they should be backed up, I always say, by first principles. So for example, if your performance team, let's say you have a proper team, right, comes back to you and says कि आपका ROAS अभी इतना है, अगले महीने इतना हो जाएगा, like हम 0.2 से बढ़ा रहे हैं. On paper, that's great, right? But what is your bet?
Hmm.
Why will it increase by 0.2, right? Nothing in India is changing next month. So what will happen? So, maybe the answer is that, oh, in my category, the CPCs were so much, but next month they're going to be lesser. Then you must ask the next level question. What gives you this belief that your CPC will be lesser? Or you must ask this question that would give you the belief that without the CPC improving, what is your big belief? Why will it improve? Because most annual plans look like uh, revenue goes like this, ROAS is going like that. That's what most annual plans look like. The reality is they don't happen because you're not actually backing it up with a strategy. Look, your strategy can be wrong, and therefore you can go back and change your strategy, but you must have one. You cannot live in the belief that next month will be 0.1 better. I'll kind of pause there and stop sharing, and we'll anyway share this deck, right? And one sec, I'll get here. Yes.
Guys, please feel free to go ahead with your questions. Adhir, Aditya, Saurav, Jenny, Prashant, Tara. We also.
Yeah, hi. I have a question, Simran. So you mentioned that you worked with nano influencer. That was a very, interesting advice you gave. Just wanted to understand how do you measure? Because we've been struggling to measure the efficacy of influencer marketing.
Right.
So
So
it
what
would
what
be helpful.
category do you have, Sora? What was it
So
your brand?
we are a community-powered marketplace for solo travelers of India. We're a travel product for Gen Zs.
Got it, got it. So when I say nano influencers, I basically mean that people who are savvy in creating content, uh, and I will amplify their reach, because I will have to spend money on that creative. I don't mean using them to aggregate their reach, because that, to my mind, has just not worked. I think there's a big disconnect today between followers of a brand and consumers of a brand. Unfortunately, the followers of a young woman traveler are basically men, you know, who
Mm.
want to see her on the beach and they want to see her on the mountain, and that is just the state of the world we live in. They are not actually people who are interested in traveling. So you will have to use that face because you want to appeal to the young woman traveler. Let's say that's one persona for you guys, but you will have to amplify it yourself, which basically means you'll have to run creatives on it. I think influencer marketing, in the way that it worked in the West, particularly like till a decade ago, it hasn't worked in the same manner here. You know.
And just a follow-up question here. I know that others have raised hand, but just one question is it better to collaborate and let the influencer do the post and collaborate with you? Does that work better?
Again, same problem, right? The followers of that influencer, we have to
Hmm.
know that, right? So for example, if I did do a campaign with Meera Kapoor, right? But if the people who are following her are either Shahid Kapoor fans or they are men,
Okay.
it's not helping my case, that
Yeah.
collaboration. Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks.
Go ahead, Tara.
Hi, Simran. Very, very insightful session. Thank you. My question is, when we are collaborating with nano influencers, do you suggest having an in-house team who's in touch with these influencers or going through an agency? Because we've not had very good luck dealing with these influencers because in
Yeah.
the end they just produce anything and it's just
Right.
not up to the mark
Agreed.
and it's very
Agreed.
difficult to make them change and do edits in the videos and then we don't end up using them. So how to go about that?
So we to do direct relationships even till date. We don't go through any agency, because the brief is very, very different. You know, uh, if you want to create content which is breaking the clutter, right, where you're standing out, it has to be your voice, it has to be your narrative, it has to be your template. So you need to be very specific, and you have to literally storyboard to say, ki scene one this, scene two this, scene three this, scene four this, you will say this, you will dance, you will wear these clothes, you will have sunlight, you will not have sunlight. It has to be down to the T, and therefore you have to ask the nano influencer, are you ready to make this for me? And also, uh, you don't have to work with 30 of them. Figure out the 4 5 that work for you, and for a good 4 5 months work with those 4 5, then figure out the next 4 5. These are people, um, who are basically your user personas, um, and you are actually using them because they are digitally savvy, that's it, and they are quick with content, that's it. You're not using them to make videos where they are lending their creative voices.
Go ahead, Adi.
Hi, Simran. So, just a follow-up question. I've also posted that in the chat box. So, have you tested with vernacular ads yet? Even if it's in Hindi, have you done that? Have you done that targeting? Has it worked for you guys?
या सो हमारी किस्मत बदल गई थी जब हमने हिंदी बात करना शुरू किया. तो हिंदी तो इज लाइक, प्लीज डू हिंदी, लाइक आई डोंट वांट टू से बट जस्ट प्लीज डू हिंदी, एंड देन एज मेनी लैंग्वेजेस एज यू कैन. Yes, Hindi is like unlocks 4x 5x straight up. So do Hindi.
Great. That's amazing reaffirmation. We've thought about it a couple of times. So
And
amazing.
Hindi is cool, I mean, if there was ever a time when Bhartiyata is cool, it is today. Like, matlab, just go
Yes.
for it. Yeah.
Completely agree. My second question is, how often do you guys change? You have mentioned in one of your slides about stagnancy in creatives and
Yes.
the ads. So
Yeah.
how often do you guys change creatives? Every month, every quarter? How do you do that, or is it need based only?
So
Or do
if
you have a content lineup planned for like July or August already while we
right.
sit in May?
Okay, so we change our creatives when it is needed. So there was a creative which was doing well from Feb, which we just changed. So that lasted very long, you know. There could be something else which fatigues in 2 weeks as well. In general, I don't know how many products you guys have, but in general, you should be making 8 to 10 creatives a month, uh, at least, you know. And these have to be low budget, high idea dense, you know, with creative tension, shot in good lighting. That's it. Don't overthink this process. Velocity is of key, you know, along with, of course, the basic template, but velocity is key. And we don't have, unfortunately, a pipeline of August, but we try and just make sure that um, the next eight weeks are sorted. Yeah. But you know, things can go wrong. So, for example, I can tell you that, let's say I've gotten, I may think I have 8 weeks sorted, but then remember I showed you that lady in the white chicken kurta. Now that creative is really working. So now that auntie's gone to America, yeah. So now I have to go figure out another auntie which looks just like her and shoot with her. And you know, so you have to be a bit dynamic in your thought process, but definitely you have to be making 10 video creatives in a month. I think that's a
Right.
good number to start with, you know.
Great. Thank you so much. My last question is that I'm sure a lot of, you would have gotten some celebrity love also, which was organic. They would have picked up the product, just put it
Yeah,
up on as a post or as a story,
yeah,
and you might have really liked that particular story or post, and you
yes,
would have asked them if you should use the usage or you should get
yeah.
the usage rights and so on and so forth. In your perspective, is it feasible or is it okay to pay for that particular creative that is already being created by a celebrity who's known, or just to do your own nano influencer bit and try and still cut down that cost and frugalities and the bad types?
अनफॉर्चुनेटली जो हमारे सेलिब्रिटीज हैं ना वो बहुत ग्रीडी हैं. तो आप जब उनसे ये पूछने जाओगे ना तो वो आपको बोलेंगे कि अच्छा ठीक है यूज कर लो बट लाइक 6 लाख दे दो इतना दे दो. If you're getting it at a good cost, then please use it now. But if you're
Yeah.
not, apply any other lens that you would to it, you know.
The
Just
one way is to
just a Sonam Kapoor holding product, saying, smiling, is not going to do anything for you. Don't
Correct.
do that. Yeah.
Super. Thank you so much, Simran. Thank you so much.
Guys, any other questions? I'm conscious of your time, Simran. I know that we're committed till 11, but
No worries, no worries. Tell
if
me.
if you can just quickly maybe just talk to us about like your fundraise journey as well, right? Like because a lot of us are in the process of raising our first rounds. We would like I'd shared the current status of the companies with you as well,
Yes.
right? So like when did you raise first? What worked for you? What was the process that you followed? I think that would be like who was very some supportive people that you found, right? Like would be like super nice to know.
Yeah. So I'm going to flip that a bit and I'm going to tell you that the three things that really troubled us, you know, and maybe that will resonate. And then we can always talk about what worked eventually. But the three things that really troubled me, and they're all very different. One was that people would question कि ये category premiumize क्यों होगी? You know, मेरी maid use करती है तो who cares about her hands? मतलब ये listen, this is very Western, you know. So I think एक तो था कि category पे question mark था, you know, और वो सबसे hard question था हमारे लिए answer करने के लिए, because it basically means कि you're swimming against the tide and therefore you are going to drown in that conversation, no matter how shining any other number is, you know, or your narrative is, or you are as a founder. So I think that's the toughest question that I have answered. And I do believe that if you are in front of an investor who does not believe in the category, you will not get the deal. You will waste your time. You may perhaps question your own business. Both are terrible things to do as a founder. So very quickly ascertain if the category is something that they believe in, and the category they believe in yesterday could be different from the category they believe in today. So do your homework around that. And I think it's totally cool for founders. Look, the funds are only the person you're talking to in the fund is it doesn't own the money. The money is somebody else's. They're also doing a job. It's totally professional to ask that do they have a thesis in this category? Are they hot on the category? And it is their responsibility to tell you the honest answer. It's not cocky, it's totally fine, and you must ask it so that you don't waste your time. The second thing that really sort of troubled me, was saying that bulky product, how will the economics work, right? Because this is not a natural e-commerce product. Because even today, the baseline of home care that is bought online is much lesser compared to, let's say, apparel which is bought online, or whatever. And that was a little bit easier to answer because, frankly, the consumer is shifting. So if the consumer is shifting, the business will shift, and the businesses will find a way to make it work, right? Amazons of the world will figure out a way to make it work, right? That's not my problem to solve. But yes, therefore, if that is the question for you as well, I think my learning from that is that know your economics very soundly. You live and die with your gross margins. So have a product which has a respectable gross margin. Anything less than 65 online is death. So don't launch a product with 45, 50 thinking कि जब मेरा स्केल आएगा ना तब देखना मतलब मेरा 65 हो जाएगा, नहीं होगा. उस टाइम कुछ और हो जाएगा. उस टाइम पेट्रोल की प्राइस बढ़ जाएगी, आपकी मतलब फुलफिलमेंट कॉस्ट बढ़ जाएगी, उस टाइम मार्केट प्लेस आपका खून पसीना ले लेगी, फिर किडनी भी ले लेगी. पर यू गॉट टू बी very good with your numbers, and your numbers have to make sense, not in some futuristic LTV, but today, here and now. You should have a path to making money. You should be CM2 positive in the honest, transparent way, where your discounts are netted off as well. So can't just, whatever. So please be very good with your numbers. And that's true, right? Because actually you are pouring in money. This is your biggest cost, is your opportunity cost. All of you are so smart. You're risk-taking individuals. You can be doing amazing, cool jobs in the world today, but you've chosen to build this. So if the economics are not positive, it's not good for you. It's not good for your the venture won't work. So know your numbers and also make sure that they're steering in the green territory. And lastly, for me, it was about do you have a co-founder? And hire someone, hire someone, um, and and that's personal. That's very personal. It depends on do you have a co-founder? Because if you don't, this is like the auntie asking you, बच्चे शादी क्यों नहीं हुई अभी तक, right? I mean, नहीं है ना आंसर उसका मेरे पास, क्योंकि मेरी तो हो गई है, but I'm just saying. So you don't know why you don't have one. It's when you thought of it, when it was born, this child, it was yours, and it was only yours to look after. So you may get somebody, and also very realistically, in the first couple of years, you may meet somebody. After a couple of years, very difficult for you to go and then have a co-founder. So, but remember that there is a bias that does exist in the minds of people. On the positive side, figure out who believes in the category. Be focused on that list. If you're a woman raising funds, figure out the track record of the funds. How friendly they have been towards women founders. It's very easy. You just see what are the companies they've invested in. Because the numbers speak for themselves. The investment speaks for themselves. And, because there will come a time when you will call out their bias. But today, don't waste your time doing that. Just be focused and, have a list. I think fundraise is an entirely different, picture and discussion. And Karan, I'm happy to have that, with your cohort at a later stage. But this was just sort of the motherhood of my challenges.
Got it. No, I think super relevant, super relatable. Uh, Great. Guys, do we have any other questions? Any last questions?
So I can just relay a question asked by Aditya on the chat box, which was how does the brand deal with negative comments on social media handles? Do you have somebody particularly managing that PR piece, or ignore or switch off comments, because we also get the same? So yeah.
Just to add to that, so Simran, I observed whenever you use very good hooks, right? When the first 3 seconds are sort of a meme or something controversial, then a lot of people buy, but a lot of people say negative stuff as well. That's creepy, cringy, and all of that. So how do you really deal with that?
So look, I mean, in a digital world, it is a two-way street. People are allowed to, react back to you. So I think you need to sift out the sensible from the not sensible. So if you look at the someone's really having an order problem, right? The order hasn't reached, and there's some order hate coming to you. Obviously, you must take that comment seriously and address it. You know, and once and also that gives the consumer who's looking at the ad next time confidence that okay, they're engaging with their customer. अब वो अगर बहुत ही अब्यूसिव अजीब से कमेंट है तो आप हाइड कर सकते हो, राइट? यू कैन हाइड इट, यू नो हाउ टू हाइड इट, राइट? एंड you can block that person if they're just a repeat offender, because then that's their trip in life. um, but frankly, I mean, if it is harmless, like creepy and
Yeah. So
cringy,
we've actually been in cases where an ad is giving good sales also, but it's getting negative PR also in terms of comments that kya dikha rahe ho, and this is a bad way to sell your products. So in that case, would you still keep running the ad?
yes, because you are only running the ad for sales.
Got it. Interesting. Makes sense.
Okay.
Great. Thank you so much, Simran and Kshitij. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Would love to add you to our group, with the founders, and if there's any questions that people may have, we'd love to bug you. But again, glad for your support, and looking forward to collaborating.
Super. Thank you so much, Karan, and good luck, everybody. Yeah, मतलब अब हिंदी में बनाओ बस कल से 4x and then vernacular. Yes.
Great. All
Bye.
right. Bye.
Thank you, Simran.
Bye.
Nice, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.